Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and we've gathered here today again to talk about Star Trek, but the 2009 version. And we might as well jump straight in with Susan and Alex, since Susan's got that's the DVD there by J.J. Abrams, who went on to do Star Wars, of course. Susan, what did you make of the film?
Hello from Bad Robot. This is Star Trek 2009, and it was a good movie. It was good. I bought it. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, nice enterprise there, Brian. The acting's good. It's got a lot of famous people. It's got Deep Roy. It's got Jennifer Morrison. It's got Chris Helmsworth. It's got Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Anton Yelchin, and Simon Pegg, of course, and brilliant cast. And although the story is really convoluted, and with the two Spocks, Leonard Nimoy does a cameo, more than a cameo. He has a smallish part in this, and it was definitely different. Like the story was convoluted though, so it made it kind of there were a lot of things that a time traveling science or part of science fiction would go, what the? Really? No, that's not possible. Oh, come on. Really? Oh, really? Again? No! Gosh! Breaking all the laws? All of them? Oh my gosh. Now how is that ship going to move? All that stuff.
This is a brilliant soundboard, can I just say?
Yeah.
If anybody wants to use these as effects in their videos.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's pretty much what Star Trek is. It's fun, but like, really? Oh my gosh, that doesn't make any sense, kind of thing. Here's Alex.
Okay. It's a cute sort of tribute. It is in a different timeline. Again, if it wasn't for the originals, they wouldn't have any real movie to base it on. I do like some of the characterizations. I don't like the Spock and Uhura thing, and I think a lot of it doesn't make sense. And I don't understand how, just like Star Wars, they're able to fly into anything and the ship barely gets damaged. And they can fix everything, it seems like, in an hour and things like that. In the original show, even though it was a trope, Scott said, if I give her any more, she'll break captain and all this. In this timeline, it seems like you can land inside a bee and still come out the other side, and that doesn't make any sense. But it is enjoyable. Unfortunately, I think that the other two movies should have been written better. And that's the other thing. I don't know if they were trying to say, okay, let's try to modernize it by having the Beastie Boys and other things, which is fine. I love the Beastie Boys when they were around, but it really isn't great science fiction. It's just popcorn pop science fiction. And hopefully they're making a fourth one. Sounds like it will be the end. So I guess unless it makes $600 million, it will be the end. I think people are reaching the end of the Marvel and the sci-fi gluttony. And the issue is not that it isn't fun. I mean, if you wanna chop it down to maybe 10 minutes or 30 minutes, there is a lot of fun elements to it. But they had that in the original show and the original movies as well. And the original movies were actually written better, with the exception of 5.
What, you mean chop this film down to 10
no,
minutes?
In other words, if you take like the Kirk fight in the bar, or McCoy meeting Kirk for the first time, or they're running around after he's shooting him with like 1,000 drugs. It's like, really? You know, So if you take little bit, but then again, that wasn't in the original show per se. And in the original show, that's when they had a virus or something. Uh, so I'm beginning to think again, Paramount may have been a little too greedy. Be happy that you have a good product and don't overdo it. And they keep overdoing it. They don't realize. Just do 3 to 5 years and give it a rest. And if the fans really like it, they'll come back to it. You don't have to constantly come up with 5,000 versions. And another podcast will talk about that as well. That I think the studios are so desperate to get money and to get people in the seats that they're forgetting about quality. I mean, again, it depends too. If you just want to shut your mind off and say, "Where's the neck pinch?" Okay, you got the Vulcan neck pinch in this movie, and that's fun. Don't get me wrong, but why not just watch the original show? I mean, Leonard Nimoy's a great actor, always has been. And I'm glad he's in this movie, don't get me wrong. But then again, they set up a convoluted thing. I mean, he might as well be joining the Jedi Knights. As much sense as it makes for this plot, you know. But that's okay. Like I said, I understand it's a popcorn movie and they have fans. And yes, they did have to wait for, 15 years before Star Trek came back. What was it, canceled in 69? And the movie didn't come back till 79. It was because of the conventions and all that. So of course they had a big effect on fandom, if you really think about it.
Effect.
But then again, I'm not a huge fan of Star Trek. I'm more of a British. Yeah, I'm more of a British science fiction type of guy. I'm glad Simon Pegg has been in all Star Wars and Star Trek and even Doctor Who. He's been in all three of them. But again, he doesn't advertise that he's on Doctor Who, which is strange because it's British and he's British. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's cute, but the plot doesn't make a lot of sense, and they seem to do the absolute impossible, which they didn't even do in the original series and in the movies. So, I mean, it's cute. I guess it's cute, is what I could say. But yeah, even though Carl Urban does a nice job as Bones, is it as good as McCoy? DeForest Kelly? No, DeForest Kelly is better at it, but of course he's gone now. But like I said, then the other movies got a little worse. So hopefully they do good with the fourth movie. Unfortunately, Kirk won't be in it because he wanted more money. So hopefully they'll do a good tribute for the fourth one. They're going to have to leave it on a happy ending anyway because this is the reboot when they were young. So, and that's the other thing. I mean, in the original universe, what does that make them? 40? I don't know. I mean, regardless of the timeline, unless somehow they can save 10 or 20 years, it also doesn't make a lot of sense. But like I said, a lot of people like it. Sci-fi doesn't make perfect sense anymore. Not supposed to. But yeah, it's an enjoyable movie. The villain's lacking. The villain is lacking. And then you have other members of Starfleet as well that, again, they've already covered this in the original movies.
So pretty much a lukewarm response, I would say, so far. Let's see what Lee thinks. What do you make of it, Lee?
Well, when I first did, back in 2008 or when it was, there was going to reboot, recast for this movie, the younger generation of Kirk and Spock. I was in two minds whether this would be a good idea or not. But it does what it says on the tin. It's an action movie. The actors do a good job of portraying these iconic characters. Okay, they're not doing 100% impersonation of Shatner or Nimoy, James Doohan. It's their interpretation of the characters. It's an update version. Yeah, it's an action-packed movie. I've got a couple of little gripes. I agree. I don't like the Uhura and Spock relationship. He's an emotionless Vulcan, and he always has been in the original TV series. There was no lovey-dovey things in the TV series, only when it was forced upon him by supernatural powers or things like that. That them two having the tongues down each other's throats in nearly every scene didn't work for me on that. And this the screen glare, the flare, the J.J. Abrams, what do you call it? It's so annoying in this movie. It's so uncalled for. It took your attention away from what was going on because you couldn't see what was going on because of the glare across the screen. Just didn't need it. But it's a good story. As I say, it is convoluted, but it's any science fiction is convoluted. Yeah, it's a good action-packed movie from beginning to end. Comedy, as you say. I agree. The villain, the Romulans, one of the Romulans, was it Eric Banner? I think the actor was. Yeah, it didn't really do anything for me, but I think this movie was more about the crew, and I think there was more set on making the crew better than the villains. As for Simon Pegg, yeah, I don't know. I'm always 50-50 with Simon Pegg, whatever he does. If it's sci-fi, if it's comedy, if it's TV shows, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Yeah, I do like his little alien companion in this. So cute is the word for that. And I can't remember the name of the alien, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a thrill ride from beginning to end. Over to you, Alid.
Yeah, and I've heard you've got little gripes. I've heard that. Let's go over.
Not anymore after the ointment.
Let's go over to Brian, who seems to be in his own little world of Star Trek with his little Enterprise.
Not just the Enterprise, Howard. It's the Target exclusive I was telling you guys about. This contains and holds the Blu-ray and the DVD.
What, so, the Blu-ray's in that thing?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me just open it. Oh!
You've broken it. Well, this is a good start.
You've flown her apart there.
I'll fix it later.
You're only supposed to blow the doors off.
He's done what Khan couldn't have done.
Anyway,
he's destroyed the Enterprise.
Shut up. Okay, but my take upon this 2009 Star Trek movie is actually it's pretty good. It's a good little decent Star Trek film, and see if I got that. Okay, got that on there. It's a good decent little Star Trek film. This was actually my first Star Trek film, or first Star Trek anything. Like, I never saw the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, or any of that before this movie. I mean, it was it's because of this film that I'm a Trek fan. I'm a Trekkie because of this fan. I'm a Trekkie because
You're
of this.
a Trekkie because of this fan.
Shut up!
That made total sense, Brian.
No, shut up. I'm a Trekkie because of this movie, though. This got me into the whole Trek franchise and everything, with especially Leonard Nimoy being in it. I didn't even know who really Leonard Nimoy was, but his portrayal of Spock Prime, as they call him in the film, Spock Prime, yeah. His portrayal, and see how he interacted with Chris Pine's young Captain Kirk, or just James T. Kirk at this point within this film. But I thought that was so cool, that and how he interacted and how Spock was within this Leonard Nimoy Spock was within this film, that really got me. I'm gonna give most of the credit to Leonard Nimoy, because his interpretation of Spock got me into Star Trek and everything. There goes Lee. um, but and I just love this movie. There's so many good elements and so many good parts within this film that is just. There's so many good things about this film that I just felt. I agree upon. I do agree upon. It's not the same with. It's not the same as the original series and all the other Star Treks. But granted, it's not really supposed to be, because this is a whole different alternate. Like, this is supposed to be like a whole alternate timeline of the Enterprise crew with Kirk and Spock. I mean, hell, with this new TV series of Discovery, that's supposed to be like 10 years before Kirk and Spock. So who knows how that is supposed to be and taken upon the series that they have now. So being with this an alternate reality and alternate timeline for the crew, it's different, and it's, I think, a best way for a franchise. I love the cast: Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Simon Pegg, Bruce Greenway as Captain Pike. I think that's what the actor's name was. Zoe Saldana as Aurora. Every single cast member I love. I don't even know how. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna do a fourth one, though, or even continue with the franchise in general, because Chris Pine, I heard, doesn't want to really do it anymore. And being the actor that played Chekhov, tragically got killed at his own home. I don't see how they could do a continuation without those two cast members and those, and for the story and for the movies itself, for the crew members. So I don't know how else would they do it, and what direction would they take. So in my opinion, they shouldn't really do it. But this movie, with being this, they shouldn't really count the other movies, because Star Trek Into Darkness, it was a ripoff of Replicon. And Star Trek Beyond was, I felt like it was just a standalone movie in itself. We had no plot, no story, and didn't really make most sense most of the time. They should have just had this movie just be a one-off, just for the fans, so they could be happy for the franchise and just have fun with it for Star Trek fans.
Okay,
So,
well, I mean, again, I'm not really a Star Trek fan, to be honest. I like a few of the characters, but in comparison with the original series that was NBC from the 60s, and the comparison of the books that they did in the 70s and the animated series from the 70s, and the fact that they were encouraged by Star Wars, ironically, to do the movies again. However, the ironic part is they didn't do any movies of Deep Space Nine. They didn't do any movies of Voyager. Discovery, which Brian is talking about, is totally an internet. That's the only way you could see it, is by internet, by joining CBS. I've tried to watch the series. Don't really like it,
yeah, it's CBS,
which is a shame. But again, yeah.
It's CBS All Access, Alex, because
Yeah, I know, but basically, Paramount and them, they own it. But yes, if this wasn't if they didn't have the original series, I wouldn't be a fan of this at all. In terms of the movies, they're trying to make it for a very modern audience. And in that respect, I hate to say it, but I defend the original series. Even the third season, which most people agree is the worst, most of the worst stories compared to the first two seasons.
It's not bad, but I'll give you that.
Yeah. So, plus, I agree with the British view of the world that if you did have a government-owned federation, I don't think they'd be so sweet and good and all that. So
Yeah, you with your your Blake 7.
Because I'm a
Federation.
Blake 7, Red Dwarf, Doctor Who kind of guy. So
Well,
That's the best type of guy.
so that
everybody's
that's
interested to see like a twisted version of Star Trek. Watch an episode of Black Mirror.
of what?
Black
Black
Mirror.
Mirror. They did an episode like Star Trek. Brian, you need to come closer to the camera, to the microphone.
It's a built-in mic along with the built-in camera. So
No, you're
sorry.
frozen now. Oh, that's better.
Sorry about
So,
that.
have you said what you got to say? Or?
Yeah, that's what my opinions and takes upon the that's my take upon the movie. So have at
Brian,
it.
I got a question for you. Did you recognise the mother?
Yes, that's Jennifer Morrison from Once
Yeah,
Upon
I know.
and
Winona Ryder. That's Spock's
Emma
wife.
Swan.
Mom!
Yeah.
Emma Swan is Kirk's mother.
and
That's amazing.
well, what about Kirk's father? It's Thor.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who Thor is. I know he's a Greek god. I know that.
Norwegian.
No, but there was also
Norwegian
episodes.
god.
Yeah, there were also episodes and books in
Well,
the
did you know-
original.
Did you know the little creature that Scotty had in the movie?
Oh, I hate it when they have those little creatures in the films. It's the same with Star Wars. They do it with that.
That was that was one of the Oompa Loompas in Johnny Depp's version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
That was the guy who played in The Talons of Wang Chiang. That was Deep Roy. I'd mentioned him earlier. I met him at Gallifrey 1.
Cool.
And there's another actor that's been in all the universes, the pop sci-fi universes. Anyway,
Right.
well, don't forget too, Brian, that there are plenty of Star Trek episodes, even in the third season, where Kirk is not the center of attention constantly. They have Spock episodes, they have Sulu episodes, they have Scotty episodes. So, it doesn't always have to be about Kirk, and Spock. They have other characters. So,
I don't know.
Alex, can I ask a question?
yeah, that's fine.
Can
Go ahead.
I have my opening thoughts
Yeah,
now?
go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming.
No,
Thanks for
you're
coming
not allowed to.
I'll get back to you afterwards,
Get
Alex.
on out of here. You're not allowed to.
For me, this is the best modern Star Wars film.
Star Trek.
No, this is Star Wars.
This is Star Trek.
No. This is a Star Wars film.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. This was J.J. Abrams' pitch to do Star Wars.
This is set in Iowa. It's Iowa for Pete's sake.
I know, but there's so many Star Wars tropes in it, and it's very action based, and it's less sci-fi because Star Trek is very sci-fi. It's one of the more sci-fi of the sci-fi shows, compared to Doctor Who or something like that. This is more sci-fi, and this film isn't sci-fi really.
But
It's
Stargate's got better sci-fi than Star Trek even.
Yeah, I know. I love Stargate. But I have to say, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I mean, there's moments that I don't like, which we'll come to, but on the whole, it's a very enjoyable film. It goes by very quickly. It's got lots of action. It's got lots of explosions. It's got lots of, good moments. One of my favorite moments being where Kirk has to overthrow Spock on the bridge. But the lens flare gets in the way. And then there's that really bright lens flare. The lens flare is I just don't know why JJ is so keen on lens flare in these films, because they just take away from the scene. They just get in the way. There was a few times I was watching it, enjoying it. I was totally into it in the whole film. I was totally, on board with it. I really enjoyed it. I thought Spock, the guy who played Spock, was amazing. Well, the two Spocks, obviously, and the lens flares just annoyed me because every time there was a really big lens flare, it just took me out of the film. It just completely took me out of the film. But the film's good enough that I still continued to enjoy it after that moment. Yeah, the plot is convoluted and the villain's not great. But it's still an enjoyable film. You can sit down and watch this and have a good time and enjoy it. Is it Star Trek? No, like I said, it's more Star Wars than Star Trek.
No,
But as a film, it's a very, very, very enjoyable film. The cast, like I say, are all very good on the whole. The person who plays Kirk's great. Leonard Nimoy, I mean, he's amazing. I haven't seen him in anything since he died, so that was a bit strange seeing him, because I haven't seen this film since he's died. And what else was I going to say? I can't remember now. Oh, well, yes. Lee said about, what you call it, Simon Pegg. Yeah, I think he's the weakest character, myself. Simon Pegg just plays Simon Pegg. And it can be rather annoying. Yeah, he was the weakest part of the film, I think, myself, personally. So, yeah, I think I really enjoyed it. I have to say, I did really enjoy it. So, let's go to favourite moments. Let's go to Lee.
Yeah, there's a few. Where they're going to dismantle the mining. I don't know what you call it, contraption, the shaft, the flight down. The free falling. It's brilliant scene. The fight scene on there. Also, I did like the Kirk running about with big hands. It was a comedy moment. He started to lose his speech and stuff. Yeah, it was quite funny. I mean, Chris Pine worked well with Urban as McCoy. It was like a comedy duo. That did work well. And also as well, I did like the scenes with Nimoy and Pine where they were stranded on the planet. Those scenes together were just great to watch. As Alex said, this will be the first time I've sat down and watched anything with Nimoy in it since his passing a couple of years ago, and it was a bit strange to watch him. See him back on the screen there as the iconic Spock. Those are just a few of my favourite moments there.
But you see, this was a film all about Spock.
Yeah.
More than anything, more than any other character, more than any other theme, this was about Spock, because it was the old Spock's fault in the first place, because he said he'd go back and save them, and obviously he didn't. He couldn't, and he ended up going through the black hole with the other ship. So this film revolved around Spock completely. So really, it's more than Kirk, more than anyone else. It's a film about Spock.
Well, Alan, with the Romulan situation with Spock, though, it's due to the events that he was working towards in Undiscovered Country and the Next Generation episodes that he was in and everything, because he was working with the Romulans within Next Generation and everything to try and help out.
And reunification, part 1 and 2 in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's your favourite moments, Brian?
Oh, it's my turn now. Okay. Let's see. I think I have a couple. My favorite within these films probably have to be, well, first one would probably have to be when we first meet Bones, a shuttlecraft, and when the Enterprise. And we get to find out why he's called Bones and why that is his, and why they actually call him Bones. Then probably my next favorite moment would probably from when they do like the jump down towards the other ship, because the thing I liked the most about that scene was the red shirt guy. He got killed within the engines or the
Oh yes, because he wouldn't release his parachute in time. They kept on telling him to release the parachute. Yeah, and he didn't, did he? He ignored him.
That's the
Yeah.
one thing that they always used to do in the original series, and one mostly rule within the original series: red shirts always die. So I'm glad that they stuck with that.
Can somebody hand Brian a red shirt, please?
Oi!
Alex is looking for one now. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, but don't forget
the original Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but don't forget that Scotty had a red shirt until he got to the movies, and even then it was maroon.
Yeah, you're right.
But see, that's the thing, though. That's another thing I loved about the original series and this movie and the other movies afterwards, that Scotty was the only one that had a red shirt that would never get killed. Never got killed. And I just thought that concept being the red shirts would always die, but except Scotty, and I found that hilarious. Anyway, next favorite moment, and this would probably be my absolutely best and favorite moment within the film. Leonard Nimoy's Spock arriving. Because within the original series, Spock is just absolutely hands down my favorite character. And judging based on this film was my first Star Trek film and my introduction to the whole Trek universe. Again, he's the one, his character, seeing him in this movie, I think got me into the whole Trek franchise and everything. So I'm going to hands down give my thanks to his Spock and Leonard Nimoy, period, because I just love Leonard Nimoy's Spock and everything, and he's not going to be anywhere near replaced. No one's going to replace him as Spock. Nobody can. He's just the original, and he was the Star Trek prince, and I can't say any more about Nimoy. Nimoy's just the best.
But I think the better moment is when the two Spocks meet, because he told Kirk that couldn't happen, but obviously it can, because they did. Let's go to Alex.
I'm
go on.
I'm gonna say that moment as well, because that was a cool moment too. But
yeah, it was a really good moment. That's one of my favorite moments as well. Let's go to Alex and Susan.
Okay, my favorite moment in the whole thing was when Kirk and Spock were like all those battles on the bridge. Those were great, and the other one was Kirk under the bed. I thought that was really funny, with an Orion slave girl who actually was, not the slave girl, but the master of their race. I don't know. You find out that in Enterprise, but anyway, that was classic Kirk right there. The other thing was I thought that Spock and Uhura would not kiss with mouths because that's so human. Oh my gosh. They use the finger kisses, this thing. Not to do Vulcan porn, but
I thought you were going somewhere else with that, so I got to.
Do you know how Vulcans kiss like this?
Oh, is that how they kiss?
Yeah, this is how Vulcans make out. Not to do Vulcan porn, but I didn't think that.
I'm sure you can find that on YouTube somewhere if you really want it.
I didn't think that they would be very funny. I didn't think that they would be kissing with mouths, but anyway, that's just my opinion.
No, the finger thing is how they mate. They don't
okay, all right. Okay.
No, that's not how they make. That's how they make out. How they mate is described in many books, and it's a different process entirely. So just read your Star Trek books and get your lore that way, because you won't see it on TV. It's not something that they show.
They can't broadcast that on TV. They cannot broadcast that. That is unbelievable, Brian.
I know. So anyway, yeah, and the other thing is that the Romulan wasn't logical at all. He just was revengeful, and that's not really Romulan. But Bana played the script that he was given, so I got to give him credit. And yeah, it had a lot. The cast was so amazing. Like, so many different people were represented that it's hard to. I mean, there was even Ben Cross, the guy who played Barnabas Collins on the remake of Dark Shadows. There he is as Spock's dad. I mean, Mark Leonard was Spock's father for the duration, but Mark Leonard has passed away, and Mark Leonard was younger than Leonard Nimoy, so it was just kind of it was kind of tragic. He died sort of abruptly, and anyway. There was Ben Cross, so Ben Cross was fun, and Winona Ryder was also fun as Spock's mother, who had been played by Shirley Jones, I think. I can't remember. Please don't take my nerd card. But anyway, so that was the original versus this timeline or whatever. It was cool. It was fun to see a Vulcan school with all the little divots, where they do their study, their little cubicles. Only Vulcan could separate children into little bubbles and force them to study that way, and have it be rapid fire. Like it's supposed to, like there's never any classroom time or anything. How do they ever learn this stuff? They're just Vulcans. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on this. Here's Alex.
Alex is sieving through all your comments, by the way, dear viewers. All your comments. Alex is our expert comment man. He sifts through all the comments. So we're live here.
Anyway, Star Trek was supposed to be Wagon Train in space. So Wagon Train was basically a Western. It seemed to have about 60 characters that they jumped through the series with. And Gene Roddenberry, I think he was a former cop. And that's also why he wanted Uhura in the TV show, because there was no black. And they also had Sulu, which he was Asian, Japanese. So remember, in 1966, that was ahead of its time. And they have done some inspiration, like the thermometer that I just did that you had to put inside. Now they have the thermometer you can scan. Sort of, not as good as the tricorder and all that. But that was also the
And the
hilarious.
flip phones.
Yeah, that was also the hilarious Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, where they concentrated on more comical. And I was there in the theater, and a lot of people did enjoy that because Star Trek kind of took itself very seriously. There was some comedic elements in the TV show, and they had a lot of jokes at Spock's expense, like when Kirk said, or even McCoy said, "You would make an excellent computer, Spock," and he took that as a compliment. He didn't see anything wrong with it. But again, the original show had its drawbacks as well. And of course, you have William Shatner, as nice as he may be, his very weird delivery, his very weird speech, and thankfully Pine doesn't really emphasize that, thank goodness. But again, it was Wagon Train in Space, and I guess it was almost canceled after the first year. They were thinking about canceling it, and then they stopped, and then the third year they finally canceled it. And the ironic part is that actually made it more popular. They even made fun of this in Star Trek and in Living Color, and there's been tons of making fun of this or that and the other thing. They even made fun of it on Airplane too, which William Shatner was there as well, when they were making fun of how the doors made that sort of shushing sound as they closed. It's not a bad show. I prefer the TV show to the movies. I prefer, let's see, one I can barely watch. 2, 4 is basically what I enjoy in terms of the actual films. But like I said, I'd rather have my science fiction through other methods because they don't do that. But like I said, there's a lot of small little moments. Again, just like the same thing with Kirk, just like the fights in the bar. So you emphasize that he's kind of a cowboy. You have Bones with his "I hate the transporter," but you'd think with him being the doctor that he'd have to deal with that anyway. He doesn't have to take it, I guess. But I mean, he's been around for years. You got Spock there, where I don't know if he doesn't like humans. He seems to work with a lot of them.
He doesn't just like humans.
I know, I'm kidding.
He's half human.
I know he's half human. But like I said, that works well in a TV setting. I don't know if it works that well in a movie setting. But like I said, there's a lot of little touches. Yeah, the villain, unfortunately, is weak. There was a couple of villains in the TV shows that were a little weak as well. Even my stepfather, who's more of a Star Trek fan than I am, even he admitted that there were certain episodes in the TV show that he went, "Oh, they ran out of budget. Oh, they have to resolve it." But that's the thing. I mean, pop science fiction always has to toe the line between being very intellectual or being very entertaining, and then you have to relate, and then you have the fans versus the non-fans. Although I would have enjoyed if they had done some movies with Deep Space Nine or Voyager. Those had good characters too.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that they're not given much time at all.
I mean, there was a little reference of Enterprise within this movie.
Say that again, Brian. I couldn't hear you.
I said there was a little reference and nod to Enterprise within this movie, like because they mention Captain Archer's dog
Ah,
when they first introduced Scotty.
Right. That's true. But they could have done an Enterprise movie, and they could have done a movie about Voyager or about Deep Space Nine, except for the fact that Deep Space Nine ended with the war, and then it was done anyway. So
Well, thank you for spoiling Deep Space Nine, Susan. Thank you so much.
It's 20 years ago. I'm not spoiling nothing, man.
Yeah, but I haven't seen Deep Space Nine yet. Thank you.
Tough tootsies. Just wanted to to say that there were. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
There were.
Never. I have forgotten again.
All right. Why are you wiping your microphone?
Never mind.
Let's not go there. Where's it gone now? No, I don't answer that. Let's go to. Might as well go to final say and score. Let's go to Brian, since he's got his tongue out ready. I don't know why.
hello. It's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Final say and score. Well, with this movie, I would probably give the Star Trek movie a 10 out of 10 Vulcans.
Wow. Alex and Susan, are they going to go higher or lower?
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It's all right. But there were things that were definitely wonky about it. Like you can't eject your warp core and then go to warp after that. Once you've gotten rid of your warp core, you're pretty much stuck. Anyway, that's
exactly. Everybody should know that.
Yeah, that's kind of anyway. But yeah, I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
I'll probably have to give this an 8. I mean, again, it's a good imitation without being an impression of the original show. But like I said, if they hadn't done any movies with the original cast, then this probably would have gotten a higher score. But again, that's the other thing. This is one of the few reboots that actually works. Sad to say. So I'd have to give it an 8. There is talent here. It is funny in a way, too. The villain, unfortunately, is very weak. There's too much lens flare. Yeah, if there wasn't the original series, then this probably would score higher. The original series is better. And basically, they're imitating the original series, which I can't be against, but I can't be 100% for either. So I'll give it credit that Pine isn't going Spock, Spock, and all that. But
that was a good impression.
But well, I tried. But anyway, at least Chris Pine isn't singing Rocket Man or Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
What?
Alex,
But,
Alex, would you like to run us through each series of Star Trek? What's your thoughts on each of the seasons from?
Well,
from
no, but again, I'm not a huge fan of Star Trek anyway.
Oh, right.
It is an American, science fiction pop TV kind of thing. And yes, Paramount unfortunately is a little arrogant with it. They thought that they were going to make money forever with the show, and they should consider themselves lucky that they do. Especially since I have talked to fans and they have different viewpoints about the original series and Next Generation and those movies as well. And again, they didn't do Deep Space Nine in terms of movies. They didn't do Voyager. They didn't do Enterprise. They didn't do.
There wasn't an endpoint that they could.
Yeah.
There was already an endpoint for that story.
Right, but again, you would think that if they're so confident in it making money, they should have done movies for it.
No. The story ended.
Okay, I understand that, but you understand my point.
But Voyager didn't end, except for Voyager made it back to Alpha Quadrant, and once they were back,
you're ruining it all for Brian.
That's another question as well, because wasn't that a big bone of contention? Is that there wasn't any female officers in Star Trek, or barely?
Well, there were more than there were on any other show.
Okay,
Captain Janeway was the captain.
Yeah, but that was Voyager.
Yeah,
Voyager. Yeah, but that's still Star Trek.
They didn't do any movies on that.
There was
no, they didn't. No.
There was all the people in Next Generation, all the female, officers, and there was more in Star Trek, more female officers.
In the movies there were, yeah.
And in the TV show than there were in real life. It was
Alex wants to
1960.
see the women. Alex
And
just
there
wants to
wasn't
see
there
the women.
wasn't any commanding officers in the armed forces of the United States at the time.
Okay, but
Which
that's
is-
not what I'm talking about.
which
He
is
just
where
wants to
this
see a woman
comes
in
from.
military
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
in uniform.
And Gene Roddenberry admitted that he did it for his own politics as well, which
Right.
is fine.
Yeah.
But
Everything
that
is politics. Doctor Who's politics.
Right.
We're not going down that route, but we could be here all night if we go through that.
Hey, just agree with Susan and Alex. It would all work out better.
Huh? What?
Just
Where?
in general, just in life. Yeah, he's given up now. He's given up.
That isn't going to
He's
happen.
gone to read the comments now. He's gone to read the comments to cheer himself up. Let's go to Lee for final say and score.
Right. Yeah, there is a few things what I'm not happy with about the movie, but I still enjoyed it. It's just a thrill ride. So for me, it's going to be an 8.75 Harry Mudds out of 10.
Oh, there you go.
8.75.
And did you see Susan's face then when original Star Trek reference?
And Discovery reference. He's in Discovery. He's played by Rainn Wilson or something.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Harry Mudd. Harry Mudd.
Oh yeah, Harry Mudd. Yeah, Harry Mudd is
Harcourt Fenton
Oh,
Mudd.
yes, he's in Discovery. Yeah. I just remembered.
Yeah, Harry Mudd is in Discovery, and he's played by Rainn Wilson.
He was that criminal, wasn't he? Yeah.
And apparently, for season 2, they're gonna have Captain Pike and Spock.
He was on that. He was on the Klingon ship, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I
But
remember now.
that's where he got sort of sidetracked was
Yeah.
with
I
the
like
women.
Discovery. I don't know why some people have a problem with it. I like it. I enjoyed it.
I
It's on
like.
Netflix.
I mean, what was your take upon Spock and Pike being in season 2?
It's pretty cool.
Spock's in season 2.
Yeah, he is going to be.
Played by Quinto.
No, it's not Quinto.
Okay.
I've-
I was hoping.
No, apparently, and looks like he might have a beard too.
What, Spock?
Yeah,
No.
Oh, it's Evil Spock.
it could
Oh,
be.
is it parallel universe Spock?
It could be. I mean, no one really knows
If
yet.
it's bearded Spock, it's parallel universe Evil Spock.
I mean, no one knows yet. They haven't
It's through the
confirmed.
mirror again.
They haven't confirmed it yet. They haven't confirmed it yet, but it could be.
So you're just picking up on rumor. You're just telling us lies.
I mean,
That's basically what you're doing, Brian. Giving us false information.
Hey! Even I think it. I think that it.
You're just spreading fake news and are well respected. We are very well respected here at Gigs Assembled for giving accurate facts.
Oh my gosh.
I think he's.
He froze. That's funny.
Hey, I do not put out false news. I'm just saying what I know.
Some fake news from Brian, folks. Take no notice.
It's not fake news. Look at the trailers.
Anyways, what's
There's no trailers out there. It's
anyway?
just cars.
Moving on. What's your final say and score, Alid?
Oh no, we've got to go back to the host Alex for then to come to me. Yeah, no. I like I said, I really enjoyed this film. For me, the two Spocks make it. The guy who plays the new Spock is totally spot on for the role. Unlike the next film we're going to watch, this was a casting that actually worked, and he made it his own as well. So it was very good. So I'm going to give it. Surprisingly, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Cool.
I'm going to give it a 9.
Lee, it's like this.
Oh, is that what he's trying to... I thought he was just counting. I thought he was just counting. I thought he was counting how many subscribers we have.
What about
1, to
So this is from the Hebrew symbol for Shin.
oh, is it?
It's a Hebrew letter.
So it's a real thing then?
It's a real, yeah.
Oh, right. It doesn't mean live long and prosper then.
It kind of does, in a way. It's a blessing from the rabbi, and it means like Shekinah glory. It's kind of like, you know, passing on some Shekinah. You know,
So he was quite religious then,
Leonard
was he?
Nimoy was pretty rebellious. He used to look up when the rabbi was giving this, and nobody was supposed to be looking.
So
who came up with that in the series then? Was it Leonard Nimoy?
It's
It was
Jewish.
Leonard Nimoy.
It's Jewish.
Oh, he came up with that. Oh,
Yeah, it's a
I didn't
Jewish
know
side. So Star Trek's also Jewish.
Yeah. Kirk was a Jew.
Hey, what? You should watch.
He misses his Hanukkah roots and his old home latkes. That's true about.
Hey, Alec,
Kirk.
you should watch the Leonard Nimoy documentary, and they explain the whole thing.
Okay, and excuse me, you know, the
Not on Netflix.
character Kirk in this being from Iowa, and I'm just like, where are these huge canyons in Iowa? And then I'm like, also, I was like, since when did
Yeah,
they
but it's
build
in huge
starships in Iowa? And since when do they build starships on the ground in Earth? They're supposed to build them in space. This pisses me off.
Wow. I'm guessing you're a big fangirl when it comes to Trek, Susan.
Yeah. You could say that. You'd
Don't
be
cross Susan, I tell you. Don't cross Susan, especially with Star Trek.
Set faces to stun.
I thought I was the big Trekkie.
Mm.
No,
Well, we have lots of movies to watch if you wanted to do some Star Trek stuff.
no, we're all right.
All right.
Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me. I'd like to thank you, sole subscriber, for watching. Hit that subscribe button to see more of our videos. Comment below on what you make of Star Trek, on any of the films, or Lee tries to do the
Vulcan salute.
Vulcan salute. And all that's to say is live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper, everybody. Anybody? Hello?